great plans to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the League of Women Voters of Palm Beach County.
Big fancy party at the Kravis Center.
With a lot of VIPs, all dressed up and ready to party.
Live music.
Special speakers. We were going to raise money through sponsors, donation, and huge ticket sales.
And then the pandemic hit.
But the centennial of the women's right to vote is too important not to celebrate, particularly in this election year.
So we moved our birthday party online.
We still have the great music.
Several inspiring speakers.
And it's all free. Although we may still be asking for donations going forward. Hey, 2021 is coming.
Because even with the election over, hopefully, we still have a lot of important work to do. And that's why we're proud to support the League of Women Voters of Palm Beach County.
I joined the League many, many years ago because I wanted to learn about the amendments. I wanted to understand about the whole voting procedure. I joined in 1964, and I've been a member for all those years.
I think it's a wonderful way for women to learn about their government, as I did when I joined about 60 years ago.
I'm Joan Karp, a proud 56-year member of League, 25 of them in Palm Beach County. I joined the League as a young mother for intellectual stimulation. It has been my avocation ever since.
In 1920, 6 months before the ratification of the 19th Amendment, giving women the right to vote, during the National American Women's Suffrage Association Convention, the League of Women Voters was founded. I proudly stand in the shoes of Carrie Chapman Catt, the League's founder. While Carrie Chapman's shoes are very difficult to fill, my feet, along with thousands of others, walk in her footsteps, proudly empowering voters and defending democracy.
My great-grandmother was a member of the original League who fought for women's right to vote in this country. My grandmother was also an active member and advocate in Dallas, Texas, and my mom and I joined the Palm Beach chapter as soon as we moved from Texas to Florida almost 10 years ago. This chapter is so passionate and active. I couldn't be more proud to contribute to such an amazing group.
Today we're celebrating two 100th anniversaries. The first one is the official launch of this political, nonpartisan grassroots organization called the League of Women Voters. The second thing we're celebrating is the 100th anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment, which granted women the right to vote.
Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining us for the centennial celebration of two important events: the founding of the League of Women Voters and the signing of the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. I am Ken Thomas, President of the League of Women Voters here in Palm Beach County. You have already heard why so many others support the League, and I agree with them all. But my first experience with the League back in 2012 was most impactful for me and why I am a passionate supporter today. You may recall there were about 15 to 16 different amendments and local issues on that ballot. That year, I had the opportunity to assist the League in Broward County with conducting community briefings on the meaning and impact of those ballot amendments. Also, in that November election, the lines were extremely long, hours long, in many locations. While in line to vote with hundreds of other voters, slowly making progress to the voting booths, several people in line near me were trying to figure out what those amendments really meant. Because of my experience with the League, I was able to help them and a growing number of voters understand the intent of the confusing ballot language and to complete their sample ballots while in line. I support the League because it has this type of impact in our communities. And for 100 years, the League of Women Voters has been serving our communities in the most impactful ways through local leagues. The work of Carrie Chapman Catt led to national voter registration drives, voter education, and child labor laws. Helping to pass the Voting Rights Act amendments of 1982, the National Voter Registration Act or Motor Voter Act in 1993, and the Bipartisan Campaign Finance Reform Act of 2002. And her DNA still runs strong here in Palm Beach County. Led over the years by strong leaders like Janine Wester, Kath Thompson, Joan Karp, and Karen Wilkerson, the Palm Beach County League has taken on hugely important programs and issues, such as advocating for the restoration of voting rights for returning citizens and fair districts, registration of new voters at high schools, naturalization ceremonies, and public events, publishing a voter's guide to help citizens cast informed votes, and keeping attention focused on protecting our election systems. These are but a sample of the accomplishments of your Palm Beach County League, and about all I can talk about without having to issue a spoiler alert for the rest of today's celebration. So relax and get ready to celebrate the centennial of these two milestones for our democracy. I hope you enjoyed the program and experienced the same pride that we all feel as we support the League of Women Voters.
Thank you so much for asking me to sing in honor of the first century of the League of Women Voters of Palm Beach County. And I truly support the League because of its nonpartisan efforts to get young people like me to register to vote and to actively participate in our democracy. After all, America is our country too. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood and sisterhood from sea to shining sea.
Thank you so much for welcoming me to your celebration of the 100th birthday of the League of Women Voters. I'm Patty Brigham, the president of the Florida League, and I am so delighted to be with you, all of our tremendous Palm Beach County League members. Palm Beach County is one of the strongest leagues, not just in Florida, but in the nation. And it is a privilege to be here with you. And what a year this has been. So many unexpected circumstances unfolding, have unfolded, will continue to unfold. But if there is one thing that is true, it is that the League of Women Voters has proven again and again that we are up to the tasks and the demands and the challenges that life brings us. We will be continuing to be up to the challenges, and I know that we will unite together as we move forward into making 2021 a great year. Once again, thank you so much for welcoming me. Have a great event.
I support the League of Women Voters of Palm Beach County because of their tireless efforts to engage the community to encourage all eligible voters to register and to vote. Our office is proud to collaborate with and assist the League of Women Voters on their various educational initiatives. 2020 marks the 100th anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. What better way to celebrate this anniversary than casting your ballot for the upcoming general election? Voting is one of the most fundamental liberties that we have as Americans, and it's how we make our voices heard. Get out and vote.
Can you imagine women not being able to vote? Let's take it a step further. Can you imagine a woman of color not being able to vote? You see, the fight for African American suffrage raged on for decades. And before 1920, women hadn't just been denied the right to vote, but they had also been told over and over that voting and politics were for men. However, women became civically engaged and pushed to establish their status as independent members of society and move toward a more perfect democracy. Progress toward universal suffrage moved in several steps, and the League of Women Voters were at the center of that push and progress. So this is why I support the League of Women Voters, because of how they help transform our democracy and how they get civic engagement done. They say that civic engagement is the glue that holds self-government together. However, that wasn't how some in my generation of women saw the world. To most of us born in the mid-60s and 70s, civic engagement in voting seemed like an entirely natural thing to do. Why not? We didn't see the fight, we didn't see the push for democracy, and we didn't know the cost. I had only a vague idea of what democracy and civic engagement were, and even less of an idea of how and why it worked. I just remembered as a child, my dad used to tell me that no matter where I lived, I had to help my community and never, ever forget to vote. In the century since women's suffrage, the League has helped to transform our democracy. The League has been an activist, grassroots organization whose leaders believe that voters should play a critical role in this democracy. The truth is, women have always been brave and impassioned Americans who protested, marched, were arrested, and even died working toward voting equality. And today, many have joined the fight and are still protesting for their rights and are certainly civically engaged. You see, if I view some policies as failing to work well for some people, particularly people who look like me, then removing myself from civic engagement offers no solution. So I chose to stay civically engaged and invest my efforts into the community and the people who live in it. As Charles Dickens wrote, no one is useless who lightens the burdens of another. Therefore, as we celebrate our 100th anniversary, I encourage you to join the League and become civic engagement leaders in whatever ways you can. Whether you volunteer for a large-scale issue like 2020 Matters or register people to vote, or on a smaller scale like volunteer for an hour to distribute voter guides, the important thing is that the League members will get it done. The League locates a weakness in how our democracy functions and mark it as a starting point for civic engagement and positive action. And this is why I support the League of Women Voters of Palm Beach County. Wouldn't you?
Hi,
This year marks the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, when women across our country won the right to vote. And our fight for equality, equity, and a level playing field for all is not over. There are still big issues we're working towards, ensuring the right to vote for disenfranchised Floridians and eliminating gender pay disparities and other forms of discrimination. Together, we'll never stop fighting for fairness, justice, and equality. The League of Women Voters of Palm Beach County has been on the front lines of this important work. Thank you for all of your hard work, and let's keep moving forward.
I support the League of Women Voters of Palm Beach County because of the organization's commitment to champion democracy. I support the League of Women Voters of Palm Beach County because of the organization's commitment to effect and ensure that the vital issues that concern our citizens here in Palm Beach County are not only heard, but addressed. The League's vision is one that is inclusive and intentional. It's a vision that supports our democratic society. It's an honor and a privilege to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment. It's also a privilege to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Palm Beach County League of Women Voters. In the face of excessive use of force by our police force, the global pandemic that is COVID-19, and the national pandemic, which is systemic racism, the League of Women Voters is ever so important. Now, more than ever, we need the engagement of all of our citizens to ensure a more perfect union and a more perfect democracy. This happens through the advocacy of the Palm Beach County League of Women Voters. To you, the Palm Beach County League of Women Voters, I say congratulations. Happy anniversary, happy birthday, and thank you for all that you do. And remember, a life of service is a life that counts.
I support the League because it does so much to empower voters, to make democracy work. It really is the missing piece in our democratic process. It helps empower voters.
I'm a 25-year member of the League of Women Voters, and the League is my passion, as anyone can tell you. If there's a problem, I try to fix it. If there isn't a problem, then I'd say, hey, congratulations. The League is there. It's there for the community.
Because they educate and empower voters.
Because of the excellent work they do out in the community with trying to help people register to vote, making sure that as many people as possible are part of our democratic process.
So I think it's so important that we vote, especially we as women, take this power into our hands, because what we need to realize is that we're the majority in this country, and we're the ones that can really instill true change, and our vote is our voice, and we owe it to the generations before us and the generations that come after us to make sure that our voice and every vote counts in each and every election, not just the presidential ones.
They hold voter forums, they conduct debates between some of the candidates, they're nonpartisan, they issue papers describing each candidate's position. They help you determine whether or not you want to vote for or against constitutional amendments.
Because of their commitment to helping former felons get their voting rights restored.
Because of the amazing educational presentations you do and the valuable resources you provide to the residents of Palm Beach County.
As a full-time working mother, I don't have much free time. This makes me especially appreciate the League of Women Voters and that they keep me educated, informed, and involved.
Because the work we do is important, and without us, it might not get done.
Because of the important work we do in our local communities. We research issues of critical importance to our residents. We encourage them to participate fully in their local governments, and we remind them to exercise their responsibility as Americans to vote.
The mission is defending democracy and empowering voters, and that's what we do.
Because they study vital issues and take positions on so many of the issues that I care about.
Because for me, the League is synonymous with champions of women's suffrage, equality, and a nonpartisan approach to issues that face our country every day.
I support the League because they played an instrumental role in laying the foundation for a county-wide library system. The League of Women Voters first took up the mantle to establish a county-wide library in December 1963 when they hosted a panel discussion with county commissioners and city librarians. Recognizing that the purpose of a library is to collect and guide the use of material to enable as many people as possible to apply it in their daily lives, the League determined that a county-wide library system was required to meet our residents' need for information. They also envisioned the pivotal role bookmobile services would play in getting resources to residents in remote areas. The League of Women Voters ran a publicity campaign to educate the public, which paid off when a county library system was established in 1969. It has grown from one storefront location to 17 branches that serve a district of almost 1 million residents with a collection of almost 2 million items, including books, DVDs, periodicals, and electronic resources. Thanks to the perseverance of the League, the Palm Beach County Library System is able to fulfill its mission of connecting communities, inspiring thought, and enriching lives. Congratulations to the League of Women Voters on your centennial celebration.
The League of Women Voters is a dynamic organization dedicated to enhancing the rights of women to vote and protect our great democracy. For over 100 years, the organization has fought to ensure first that women had the right to vote, and then to fight against voter suppression, to ensure that voters from all backgrounds, all neighborhoods, all races, all creeds, and all colors had the right to vote. Today, more than ever, the League of Women Voters is a critical part of ensuring that our democracy remains strong. Now more than ever, fighting against voter suppression is critical to ensuring that each citizen of this country has the right to vote. I proudly support the League of Women Voters and their efforts over the last 100 years, and the efforts that I know will continue in the future to protect the right to vote, to fight against voter suppression, and to ensure that the values that support our democracy are always protected and respected.
I support the League of Women Voters of Palm Beach County. Thank you so much for all that you do to encourage people to vote, to influence policy, and ensure we have a democratic process. I'm Rita Barretto, Chair of the Florida Commission on the Status of Women. With the 100th anniversary of women's right to vote, I can't think of a more appropriate time to celebrate all that you're doing. Thank you, and I wish you continued success.
I think the League of Women Voters matters because we research very important topics and advocate for what we believe should be done by the state. So I think that we do important work.
I support the League because it's one of the only organizations that looks at the facts and studies the facts and then comes out with a nonpartisan consensus on what's right and what's wrong, or who's, not who, because we don't pick a candidate, we pick a policy. And no one else does that. And so we're trustworthy because of that. We're smart women, and we look at everything.
Hello, beautiful. I'm Randy Finoli from Say Yes to the Dress on TLC. And I just wanted to say thank you to the League of Women's Voters for all that you've done for your 100-year anniversary of getting people registered to vote and getting them educated about what's happening politically. So thank you so much for all you do. And once again, congratulations on your 100-year anniversary. Mwah!
Congratulations, League of Women Voters of Palm Beach County. I am Pamela Goodman, and I am so proud to call this league my home league, and also to have so humbly and proudly represented you as president a number of years ago. You know, you're the largest league in the country now. It doesn't surprise me. The most active in the country, the state, and certainly here in the local community. What you have done in the past, what you are doing now, and I know what you will accomplish in the future is just unbelievable. You set a high bar and an excellent example for other leagues all across this country and other organizations. While it's always important to recognize and stand on the shoulders of those who came before us, I want to do that for just a few minutes and remember Susan B. Anthony, who started back in the mid-1800s, who went across this country speaking for the first time in many, many places as a woman alone with a sheriff sitting next to her with a rifle to protect her. And as each state passed suffrage, on her black dress, her flag pin that she wore, she placed one diamond stone for the state that passed it. Unfortunately, she passed away with only 13 diamonds in that flag pin. But then the next generation, the younger women, carried on after her, the Carrie Chapman Cats, and those young, emboldened women who chained themselves to the fence of the White House in Washington, who were imprisoned and force-fed, our iron-jawed angels, who fought ferociously and viciously just for the right for women to vote. And they made it happen. But there were men involved too. Our Harry T. Burns, our freshman congressperson from Tennessee, who actually put that yellow carnation in his lapel after receiving the note from his mother and said, "Do the right thing for the women, Harry." And he did. He was that one passing vote. Don't ever believe that one vote doesn't count. It was his vote that passed suffrage in Congress and became the 19th Amendment in our Constitution. But then we had our women of color, our Black sisters, who really had to still fight for the next 40 years until the early 60s with passage of civil rights, until they were fairly entitled to the same equal rights and justice to voting as we had attained in 1920. So those are broad shoulders, they're big shoulders, and there are many shoulders all across this country that we stand on today and are so thankful to have. But what I'd like to talk a little bit about is the future of this organization. The League, in my opinion, has never been as important as it is today. It's nonpartisanship. Its nonpartisanship is its tenet, its base, its boldness. It is so necessary. Facts instead of fake news, discourse instead of disrespect, and education in place of emotion. Defining our nonpartisanship, I often say, that's our job. We define our own nonpartisanship. We are the holders of that term, and we define it. Nobody else defines our nonpartisanship for us. League members do. And I often use a quote from Margaret Thatcher that I think is comparable. Margaret Thatcher was talking about being powerful. And she said, being powerful is somewhat like being a lady. If you have to tell someone you are, chances are you aren't. I believe that nonpartisanship is somewhat the same. If we spend too much time defending and defining what our nonpartisanship is, perhaps we aren't as much as we think we are. So let's be the tenets of nonpartisanship. We know what we do. We know how hard we have fought for it, we are fighting for it, and how important it is for our future. The League core mission always has been since suffrage and is today voting rights. Election integrity, advocacy, and resulting legislation to protect our fundamental mission of voting rights and election integrity. It always has been. I hope it always will be. But other issues have called us. Many other issues have called us through the years, and probably now more than ever. And the League has done an excellent job of understanding not one organization can handle all subjects and be professionals in all organizations and all subjects. The construction of coalitions is what I think is one of the League's strongest skills at this point in time. to help build the support that is key on issues that are important to us. Look at the environment and solar, the coalitions that we've built around those subjects and the resulting legislation. Look at safe gun legislation, the statewide coalition and even national coalitions that have been built around that issue. Look at reproductive rights, our partners in Planned Parenthood, another equal rights organization. All are examples of how diversity is key to our organization and the missions of our organization. Diversity in age, diversity in gender, diversity in race, and definitely diversity in political persuasion. What's also key is the importance of our army of volunteer members and their nonpartisan work. Our volunteer members, that's what's key. We must keep our troops energized. We must keep them engaged. We have to celebrate our victories, and whatever they want to do and whatever way they want to do it and whatever level they can do it, we want to keep them involved. They are our core. We are a grassroots organization, and those roots are the key to our success. And finally, we need to help educate, not just ourselves, not just our members, not just our coalitions and their members and voters, but those that are put into office. Elected officials need our voice. Elected officials of all parties, all persuasions on all issues. Our input is important. Mostly, I would add, in the name of suffrage at this 100-year celebration, we need those elected officials to be more women. Right now, women represent 52% of the population. Sadly, we still only represent 24% of those in elected office. And the League of Women Voters, with our mission, our tenets, our coalitions, our experience, and our history, is an excellent organization for those future elected officials, whether it's school board, city or county commissions, state legislatures, government cabinets and governors, or the next president of the United States. I believe that all of those women, supported by men and their own peers, can be the next true leaders of this country. So with that, League of Women Voters in the country, League of Women Voters in the state of Florida, but most importantly, all my darling mentors and friends and peers out there, congratulations, League of Women Voters of Palm Beach County. You should be proud of yourselves and be so proud of the women and men that stand with you in this wonderful organization. I love you. Thank you, and cheers.
The League of Women Voters has stood the test of time, celebrating 100 years as an organization. The League has a special place in my heart because our volunteers are the very best, and they work tirelessly to educate, advocate, and serve our community. From voter registration to voter education to advocating for policies, the League continues to form partnerships to create positive change within our community.
I enjoy being part of the Young Leaguers and enjoy working with a group of young folks who help to register voters, plan events, and discuss different issues.
There's the community service projects, which I'm able to participate in with the Young Leaguers. Everything they do is to benefit the community. It's nonpartisan, and it allows for them to provide a greater impact.
I'm super thankful to be a part of this amazing group of individuals and organizations, as I've learned so much about helping others, reaching others, and the importance of education.
A special thank you to the Young Leaguers and all the committees who work tirelessly to make our voices heard and contribute to our communities on a local and global level.
When it comes to marching for racial justice, The next generation is trying to pick up where generations before left off.
I'm 15.
16.
20.
Officials with the League of Women Voters in Palm Beach County registered people to vote at a student-led social justice protest for George Floyd and others over the weekend at Dreher Park.
A lot of people came up to us and just thanked us for being there and talked about how important voting is to them and that they're going to show up in August and November. We signed up about 30 people to register to vote, and 12 people signed up for vote by mail.
I'm Dorothy Jacks, the Palm Beach County Property Appraiser. There's many reasons why I support the League of Women Voters. Most importantly, it's about education. It's about how the League provides opportunities for you to learn about all kinds of public affairs and all kinds of current issues in our world. You know, locally, the League has been exceptionally helpful in allowing people to get their message out through the voter guide and through other resources, through political forums, and providing a nonpartisan place where people can go and get information about their candidates and, more importantly, about issues. I've worked with the League on a number of amendments, making sure that education was out there about them. And I just think that the important work of this great group of people needs to go on for another 100 years. So congratulations to the League. I'll be a League member as long as I'm a part of this community. It's just a great organization to know about. Congratulations again. I hope the 100 years just leads to another incredible, successful centennial. Thanks.
I support the League of Women Voters of Palm Beach County because they have done an amazing job advocating on behalf of the citizens of Palm Beach County in Tallahassee. The League always comes up to Tallahassee and lets their issues be known to all the legislators so that we can all work together to support them. Whether it's women's rights, whether it's equality, whether it's making sure that our voting is done properly. The League is always there advocating for all of us. And I am so thankful to have their support in Tallahassee. Thank you and congratulations to the League.
I support the Women's League of Voters because since its inception, the League's aim has been to empower people to participate and have access to the democratic process. This was important 100 years ago, and it couldn't be more relevant, it couldn't be more necessary than it is today to have people use their voice and have people exercise their right.
Hi, I'm Paulette Burdick. I support the League of Women Voters because we challenge efforts that threaten our democracy and limit the ability of voters to exercise their right to vote.
I joined the League because it's issue-based. It's the only way that we can bring justice, social justice, and well-being to our communities through education, advocacy. We have to serve the people, and the League truly dedicates itself to doing that.
The League educates and advocates for its members and for the community. They do studies in action and provide information to all of us. So I gladly and gratefully support the League.
I support the League of Women Voters of Palm Beach County because it's a place where we can volunteer, research, and educate effectively.
Thank you so very much for inviting me to participate in this wonderful event honoring the 100th anniversary of the League of Women Voters of Palm Beach County. I support the League because of its strong and consistent push for fair and free elections, because of its ongoing support of equal rights for everyone, and because of its critical role that they play in keeping our nation the America we all know and love. So, when I think of those courageous women of 100 years ago, and the hope and determination that burned in their hearts and minds. It is the same fire and desire we all share today. I've got some wings. I am eager to try. I may be unknown, but wait till I've flown. You're gonna hear from me. Make me some room, you people up there on top of the world. I'll meet you, I swear. I'm staking my claim. Remember my name. You're gonna hear from me. Fortune smiled on the road before me. I'm fortune's child. Listen, world, you can't ignore me. I've got a song that longs to be played. Raise up my flood, begin my parade, and watch the world over start coming up closer. That's how it's gonna be. You'll see. You're gonna hear from us.
I support the League of Women Voters of Palm Beach County because they make sure that we're educated about all the issues that appear on the ballots. They make sure that people are registered to vote, and they inform our community about so many important topics.
Like the League of Women Voters, I support active participation in all citizens' right to vote. I support educating our community about the issues that affect public policy. I support empowering voters to defend the democracy. As a woman, I stand among the largest and most powerful voting bloc in America, women voters. Happy 100th anniversary, League of Women Voters.
I support the League of Women Voters, especially during these unprecedented times, because of the vital role they've played in making sure that every citizen has the right to vote and that their voices are heard. It's been over 100 years since women like me have even been able to vote. And it's been 100 years that the League of Women Voters has been fighting against voter suppression, has been educating our public, like with this year's voting guide, and has been working tirelessly to make sure we can safely vote.
Hi, I'm Dorothy, Treasurer of the League of Women Voters of Palm Beach County. I support the League not only because it provides voter services, it is always on the forefront of justice and change, and continually fight to improve the lives of the members in the community that we serve. From the beginning of the suffrage movement 100 years ago, women have fought for a right to vote. I've come to realize how important it is for me to raise my voice through my vote. I'm honored to serve with this inspiring team of men and women.
I support the League because it identifies an issue that needs addressing. Then it studies and researches that issue, then makes recommendations to be adopted. So the motto of the League is, don't complain, find the solution. Most of our audience knows about Frank. We fans read his hilarious columns in the Palm Beach Post, and we attend his presentation at the county libraries and at FAU, and then read his two very funny books, Shady Palms and Pelican Park. Best of all, Frank Cherubino is an expert at needling politicians. He's a wordsmith who knows how to make us focus on a variety of subjects, like climate change, or world trade, or iguanas in his pool. Because of his last name ending in a vowel, you're not going to be surprised to learn that he plays the accordion. He also plays a soulful saxophone. Frank and his wife have 3 adult children and live in Boca Raton. Why is he our special guest speaker for our 100th birthday of the League of Women Voters of Palm Beach County? Because he makes us laugh and he fills us in on the realities of life. Underneath that humor lurks a man with intelligence and caring about social issues. So, take it away, Frank.
Hi, my name is Frank Cherubino. I'm a columnist with the Palm Beach Post, and I'm here to wish the League of Women Voters a congratulatory message on their 100 years in Palm Beach County. It's a terrific record. I'm a big fan of the League. Whenever people ask me about ballot issues and stuff, I frequently recommend that they go to the League site. It's a great resource and a great bunch of people too that I've met over the years. So I was asked to come up with a couple of election stories, or at least an election story. Actually, I've kind of combined it. I was thinking about it. I could actually be carrying on for a while on this subject, but I'm gonna talk about 2 election stories that both involve Jesse Jackson. How about that, to tie it together? Jesse Jackson, whether or not you like his politics, is a terrific personality and just has a way with sort of taking charge of an issue. So the first Jesse Jackson story dates back to, and I really can't remember exactly which one it was, but it was one of the Democratic National Conventions. So the newspaper used to send me to both the Republican and the National Conventions, and I went to 8 of them, 4 the Democrats and 4 the Republicans, between the years 1992 and 2004. So this would have been, I guess this is probably the 96 convention. And so all the characters show up. So if you watch it on TV, the convention is a nightly show, right? You see from Monday through Thursday, there's like a 3-hour time slot in both parties' program, speeches and videos. And if you're the Democrats, you learn to dance the Macarena and things like that. And so, but it really goes on all day, and it's a big party for all the party faithful, kind of a reward for all their hard work, and also basically a way to urge them to, okay, we're going to throw a nice party for you, now get out there and round up the vote. And so the Republicans, usually during the day, they would go shopping or something. I remember going to Republican conventions and they'd say, okay, let's go down to Tijuana. We were in San Diego and we'd go shop at Tijuana, or let's go eat a Philly cheesesteak or something. But the Democrats would organize more, sort of subdivide into groups. They had all their caucuses. The Republicans pretty much don't have caucuses. They have their state delegations, but the Democrats divide into all sorts of weird ways. Basically, you can identify yourself in a million different ways and join these different caucuses. And then the caucuses would meet during the day. And depending on the political import of your caucus, you would get a lot of serious politicians who would come by your caucus breakfast or your caucus meeting or whatever. And I used to like to, when I was going to the Democratic conventions, just out of pure mischief, I would like to go to the Hispanic caucus, because you could count on hearing some really bad Spanish at the Hispanic caucus, because every white guy that would come into the Hispanic caucus would try to talk Spanish, even though most of them couldn't speak it. It's really a tragedy that so many people in this country do not speak Spanish. It's surprising, considering the proximity of Spanish-speaking people in our hemisphere. But and I would kind of include myself. I took plenty of years of Spanish in school and have a moderate, understanding of it. But I'm not fluent in Spanish. And but I would like going to the Hispanic caucus, and I would like to hear basically a lot of bad Spanish one, like no me gustan las albóndigas, which I still remember from my Spanish one, which I think means I don't like meatballs, which probably didn't come up in the caucuses, but a lot of other stuff, really inane stuff, mi casa es su casa kind of Spanish. And so I would like to listen to that stuff. So I'd sit around and listen to these people get up there and try to speak a word or two, memorize Spanish that they had learned. And it was on one of these meetings, Jesse Jackson was standing in the back of the room, and there were a parade of other guys that went up there and tried to speak Spanish and made fools of themselves. And so when it was Jesse's time to talk, he got up, and the first thing he said was, I just want you people to know that I don't speak Spanish, but I think in Spanish, which to me was the most ridiculous and yet beautiful statement. Everybody applauded it. It kind of got him out of trying to say something stupid in Spanish and basically saying that really everything he does is in Spanish. It just doesn't come out as language, which is kind of a crazy thing to say if you think about it. If you think in a language that you don't understand, that's kind of makes you a crazy person, I think. But anyway, but it worked for Jesse. So that was my first Jesse Jackson story. The second one had to do with the great 2000 presidential election here in Palm Beach County, the recount, the 37-day recount and everything. And it was really that, people talk about, there's some people, you can make an individual difference, and some people say, not really, but really there were, looking back on this, and I did a lot of work on this, and not only did I cover the whole thing, but I wrote a giant sort of a section, long piece on the recount and everything. And there were really individuals that changed the course of history in this. And I don't mean big people, I mean sort of little people. So for example, there was a 19-year-old college student named Liz Campbell, who was she worked, I think she went to Palm Beach State, which was called Palm Beach Community College, I believe then. And she worked part-time in like an office building on Okeechobee Boulevard. And she was one of those sign wavers. She was very much politically active and wanted Al Gore to win. And she would stand on the Okeechobee Boulevard with an Al Gore sign and Al Gore, Joe Lieberman sign, and day after day. And when the election came, and it turned out that it was too close to call, and then immediately the morning after the Tuesday election, there was all this news about Florida's ballot, the butterfly ballot, and whether or not the butterfly ballot caused maybe possibly as much as a couple thousand people to cast a ballot incorrectly. And Liz Campbell was convinced that she was probably one of the people who didn't connect the line across in the correct way, and may have accidentally voted for Pat Buchanan when she was trying to vote for Al Gore. So she decided in all earnestness that she would be allowed to re-vote, to cast another vote. So on the day after the election, she went to the Supervisor of Elections office, which then was on Olive and Banyan in the governmental center there. And she went in and she said, I need to vote again. And they told her, you can't vote again. You basically get one shot at it. And she said, but I think I made a mistake. And they said, it doesn't matter. So she was so upset, she went to a car, and rather than leave, she opened her trunk. She had a bunch of these signs in her trunk. And she opened her trunk and she got a magic marker and she wrote, I demand a revote, and went back out and stood outside the Supervisor's of Elections office with the sign saying, I demand a revote. She was the only person there. So this is the Wednesday after the election. This 19-year-old college student was the only person there. I demand a revote. And Dan Bryan, who was a reporter for WJNO. Oh, remember when we had like local radio that had local news? Oh, I'm getting myself depressed just thinking about all these old things. But anyway, JNO was a station that did local coverage during the day, and they would do everything from breaking news to talk, to political talks or whatever. And Dan Bryan was their reporter. And he happened to be driving by the courthouse or going to the supervisor of elections office and saw this lone woman standing outside with the sign and decided to do an interview with her, like a woman on the street interview, and talk to her. And the Reverend Masters, who was driving around in his car somewhere up in Riviera Beach, has got WJNO AM 1290 on his radio, or is it 1230? I can't remember. Anyway, he's got it on his radio, and he hears this interview of this woman protesting outside the courthouse, and there's nothing that gets the Reverend Masters more excited than a good protest. So he drives down to the courthouse and finds Liz Campbell and says, well, you know, one person's not a protest, it's just kind of a person in a mood, you know. So what we need to do is get a bunch of people down here tomorrow. And he hatches this idea. He says, I tell you what, you go to college, you get a bunch of college students. I'll go to Riviera Beach and I'll get a bunch of my church ladies, and we'll get some buses rolling, and we'll get a bunch of people from the Black citizens of Riviera Beach who like me. We'll get them to come down. And I got this guy named Irv Schlossberg down in Delray and Boca. Irv Schlossberg was an up-and-coming young politician. I think he was about 60 at the time, but he ran his first race and won. And just a month before, because there was no Republican challenger, so he won in a Democratic primary that was actually disputed because of the ballots. But anyway, that's a whole other story. So anyway, so he figures I'll get this Irv Schlossberg, and he can round up all these voters who voted for him, which was largely Jewish condo residents in suburban Delray and Boca, and we'll have all these Jewish residents from Boca Delray. We'll have all the college students from Palm Beach Community College, and I'll have all my Black residents from Riviera Beach, and we'll meet here tomorrow at noon, and we'll have a real protest. And he says, and not only that, but I'm going to call Jesse Jackson. So I think he's got Jesse Jackson on the speed dial, right? He's used Jesse Jackson for other things in this area. So he calls up Jesse Jackson and he says, I'm getting a huge protest together tomorrow in Palm Beach County. Can you do it? So Jesse Jackson's like on the next flight, right? So he's leading the protest. And sure enough, the next day, there was a credible protest from this one person to the next day. There's got to be, I don't know, 500 people out there with Jesse Jackson in the front with a voting machine that Irv Schlossberg had stolen from a temple down in Delray. Not stolen, it just wasn't turned back in. But anyway, so Jesse's, which they were all supposed to be turned back in. So Jesse's waving around this ballot box, this Palm Beach County ballot box, and he's saying, get out the bushes and all this other stuff. And it's a huge march, and the media is there, and the media is always looking for some place to report a story, and this recount is going to be a big thing. And suddenly it's like, well, this is just as good a place as any. Why don't we just report everything from Palm Beach County? And Palm Beach County became kind of the center of the recount universe in Florida, largely because of this one protest that started with one person. So anyway, all right, because it could have been a lot of other places. There were a lot of bad votes in Jacksonville. There was a ballot in Jacksonville that really cost Gore 10 times more votes than the butterfly ballot did. It could have been done up in Jacksonville, but who wants to go hang out in Jacksonville when you can get a room at the Chesterfield and the Breakers, and so you know how that goes. So anyway, so Jesse Jackson is all charged up because he has just gone to Palm Beach County, was a huge hit, got on all the news. He got to lead the protest. So he decides this is a good gig, I'm coming back. So, but he doesn't check with I would have straightened him out, because he just decides, well, I'm going to come back on Saturday. And he likes the fact that he saw a lot of older Jewish people, and he finds out that there's this, Century Village is out there in West Palm Beach, and it's a giant, that's like the motherlode of condominium voters, So he decides, well, I'm going to come back to Palm Beach County on Saturday. I'm just going to go out to Century Village, and I'm going to spontaneously get people to get excited. So this is all before the internet, right? If we had social media, maybe it wasn't before the internet, but it was before social media, because if we had social media, it's no problem getting thousands of people on a moment's notice. But back in the year 2000, you really had to work on getting a crowd, and you have to go call up people, and they call up other people, and everything gets, confused. So it's tough getting things together. So you have to kind of literally go and kind of round up people. So Jesse thought, I'm going to just show up at Century Village, and I'm going to round up all the Jewish people, and I'm going to get them all excited. I'm going to give a big speech at the clubhouse, and everybody's going to love me. Doesn't find out that Century Village, to get into that clubhouse, you got to make a reservation. They got entertainment there. You know, they're not waiting for Jesse Jackson to show up. They got shows and they paid for tickets. So Jesse Jackson shows up at the clubhouse, and they're streaming in. Because I went out there because he flew in like literally right before, like at 6:30 on a Saturday night, and he just goes straight to Century Village. And when he gets there, it's like full of people. He thinks this is great. So he stands out in the lobby and he's waiting for people to sort of gather around. But instead they're going like, hey, there's Jesse Jackson. And they just keep going by him. And he can't understand why people aren't stopping. And it's because he didn't do his homework. There was a show that night. There was a guy named John Bynum, who was a comedian, who I thought might have already passed away at the time, but apparently not. He was still playing Century Village. He used to be, when I was a kid, he was on the Ed Sullivan Show. But anyway, he was a comedian, and he was doing a show at the Century Village Clubhouse, and the residents had paid $2 to get a ticket to see John Bynum. So now they're walking up with their $2 ticket, and lo and behold, here's Jesse Jackson in the lobby of the clubhouse, and they got to decide, do I go and see John Bynum, or do I stop and listen to Jesse Jackson? And the general consensus was, they go up to Jesse Jackson and they say, I got tickets for a show. If you're here in a couple hours, I'll hear what you got to say. And they walk in. And Jesse Jackson suddenly is in an empty lobby, and he realizes that he can't compete with a $2 ticket to see John Bynum. And that's my Jesse Jackson story. Okay, anyway, I hope you enjoy your 100 years, and I hope we have a lot more of you guys. You're terrific. Thank you very much.
So now you know why I and everyone else here support the League. Before we end, let me briefly talk about some of the challenges we will face for the next 100 years. Yes, of course, we will continue our core mission work of registering newly eligible voters and those who have yet to register, voter education, and issue advocacy. And we must continue the work to enact the intent of nearly 2/3 of Florida's voters when they voted to restore the right to vote to returning citizens. But we must also work to increase voter participation in all elections, municipal, midterm, and general elections. Remember, most national leaders get their start at the state or local level. We must work to ensure that voting districts are designed for voters to choose their representatives and not the other way around. We must work to ensure every vote counts, especially when determining the winner of presidential elections. We must work to ensure that all voters are informed on the issues and candidates and cast their votes based on facts and not the myths or disinformation that permeates our communications channels. We must take the steps necessary to ensure that we leave a livable environment for future generations. And finally, I hope you'll agree, it's time to pass the ERA. These are but a sample of known challenges to be faced on the road ahead. And as you know, all roads have unexpected potholes. As we move forward for the next 100 years, we need you. We are mightier together. We will have more impact in our community together. If you're not currently a member, we ask that you please consider joining the League of Women Voters here in Palm Beach County. Your contributions of time, your talent, and your treasures will guarantee the League's continued work to empower voters and defend democracy. I humbly thank all of our members, supporters, and sponsors for making all that we've accomplished possible. Thank you for joining us today, and remember to cast an informed vote in every election.